Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool.
AI. Well, I think to talk about AI, first we have to talk about 1,000 years ago, when the first roofs were discovered in Kiev. No, that's being silly.
30 seconds.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I just want to explain what happened in AI in 30 seconds, right? So, in the first days of the world, all living things were ruled by the elven court, but the wizard king Eniok sat upon his throne. Banished from their garden, a new race called humans, something,
No, it's men.
men, wanted to take the throne for their own.
So just
There
those
won't
lines
be
there.
any trumpets blowing.
Let's get away from the One Tin Soldiers war bad
Yeah.
moment and go back to do it in the name of heaven.
Yeah.
So go ahead, hit your neighbor, go ahead, cheat your friend.
Yeah.
Do it in the name of heaven, just fine in the end. That's the Crusades and the Holy Wars. Do it in the name of heaven, in the name of God.
What if God actually wanted the Crusades, though?
Well, so the Crusades are weird because the first Crusades were defensive wars. Later ones weren't, but the first Crusades were defensive wars.
I mean, you're invading Israel. How's that defensive?
Because the Muslims, Turks, Shiites, wherever, like the sheiks,
Yeah.
invaded Europe in quite a few of their own holy wars. And so the Crusades after that, the first Crusades, I believe, were actually kicking them out of Europe. And then the Crusades after that were establishing control points in the East
Was it the...
towards Jerusalem so that they couldn't attack anymore. So it's basically like securing borders and attacking these areas and weakening them. So it was a defensive offense. It was retaliation afterwards, and it's fought defensively to try to basically the organized armies of Christianity attacking these locations to defend themselves from future invasion.
I wonder if that was the Umayyad dynasty. There'd be, their Mamelukes who could throw scimitars.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the first Crusades where
Right,
they were
right.
defended. The later ones weren't.
But weren't they, even in the first Crusades, weren't they going in and, killing Jews and stuff?
Well, that too.
It's not really defensive. It's the native population, let's wipe them out.
Yeah, well, you take opportunities while you're out and about.
And
But AI,
why are the Jews bad?
because they are not Christian.
Right, but wasn't Jesus a Jew?
But he's also Christian.
Couldn't any Jew become a new Jesus or so?
They can, but they're not.
It just seems...
And if you encounter a people see, here's the thing. You can say the Romans killed Jesus, but it's the Jews that wanted him dead. And so, in a really sense of logic, the Jews killed Jesus.
And why don't the Muslims like the Jews? Aren't they basically Jews 2.0?
Because you have Abraham, and you have his son with his wife, and his son with his wife's maid / his prostitute. So his son inherited everything. His wife's maid and his prostitute and their son, Ishmael, were kicked out because Abraham's wife didn't like her anymore because Ishmael was favored over her child. And so they went into the desert and the Badlands and they were dying. And then she told Ishmael, go behind this bush so I don't see you die and you don't see me die. And then God said, whoa, lady, that bush over there, check behind it, there's water. Drink that water, there's a bit of food nearby. And as I said to Abraham, I shall make your people and your children a great people. And so she went with her son, they got water, whatever. And so their ancestry that's the diversion of the Abrahamic people, is there's Abraham's family and then the prostitute of Abraham and her son are what became the Muslims.
So everyone's Abraham was a cool dude.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's sort of a...
Yes.
And
so that's why we're the Abrahamic people, the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims, is it starts at Abraham.
And then the Muslims, they say in the Quran, I think it is possibly, that everyone else is bad, except we should tolerate the three peoples of the book. The Jews, the Christians, and the Sunnis, whatever they're called, which we have no idea who they were, but they're in the Quran or whatever it is. So it's like, okay, so they're like, okay, we're cool with the Jews. But then there's a line in one of their other things, which is something like,
Day of Judgment.
is there not a tree who would not say to you, behind me hides a Jew, come and kill him? And
this is on the Day of Judgment is what is.
And it seems a bit like we're just saving the Jews for later.
And they also have laws about how to screw over Christians in their stories, but also they like
But then,
Christians.
Of course, Islam isn't a monolith by any means.
No.
Obviously, given the schism, the main schism, but then there's minor schisms as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole...
lunatics.
Well, no, I was thinking like how Muhammad's teachings weren't written down until like 20 years after he died.
Yeah.
So it's like, what did Muhammad actually believe? It's hard to say. Because everyone was right. Which is true of, all of these things, except maybe Jesus and Moses' stuff, because I think Moses was doing the writing, and it was like Jesus' disciples were doing the writing, so they were at least there.
Well, even with Jesus' writings, we don't use the writings of Evil Shadow Man.
Nicodemus?
Yeah. Nicodemus was one of the disciples.
He wasn't one of the 12 disciples, though, right? He was like a...
later disciple.
He was a bonus.
Yeah. Well, there was quite a few extra, but we don't use him, and there's more people than just him.
Jesus collected to himself 12 disciples, but in secrecy, in the shadows, there was a 13th disciple.
And then there's the whole story of the Demiurgus, and that was kind of kicked out as well.
Yeah. Well, that was like the Zoroastrian. I wonder if the Muslims were just talking about Zoroastrianism, actually, because that was a book religion in the area. It would make sense.
Yeah.
But people don't think so for some reason, I guess. So, AI.
Yes, 30 seconds to explain it.
Yeah. So after Abraham, there was...
a lot of stuff.
His second wife was Ada Lovelace. And she hypostulated... Is that a word? It is now. She hypostulated...
Postulated or hypothesized?
She hypostulated a machine which could do calculations based upon inputs without human intervention. And this was the first sort of conception of a computing device. Now, she didn't actually end up making it, but it was made several years later, just a very basic... like, she sort of developed the fundamentals of computer logic. And then later on, one of her coworkers, I think, actually made a logic machine. And that leads us to today, where near the start of February, there was I would say yes, it is the biggest advancement in AI since the biggest AI announcement, right? Because these things always happen like 6 months before they're announced. But the biggest AI announcement was made since ChatGPT was released to the public. And this was immediately overshadowed several hours later by another massive announcement, which was Sora from OpenAI. And Sora is a text-to-video generating program that can do all sorts of miracles, like make these photorealistic videos easily. It can also interpolate, so you can give it two videos and say, make me a video that's a combination of both of them.
I did see one of those.
It's like, weird. Here's a gecko, here's a bird, combine them, bam, now I have a gecko bird.
One I saw, it's a rotating castle.
Yeah. Oh, and it's like a...
and then a Candyland scene.
Yeah, like a sort of snow globe type thing. And,
and it interpolates them together.
Yeah. And then... and it can also do stuff like you say, here is the last frame of a video. Now give me a video that leads to that frame. And they did an interesting one where they ran it 3 times, and it's told 3 totally different starting positions, and then it ends up on the same video.
All right. So it can do that last frame, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you take Lord of the Rings, and whenever there's a cut, like a hard movie cut, you take those frames, and you give it that, and you let it interpolate further, and then you have more Lord of the Rings movie.
It'd be a lot of like just rotating cameras, I think. But like Legolas. Yes. That'd be kind of fun, though. Yeah. And there's a lot of people saying you could take, like, the last, minute of a Marvel film, let's say.
Yeah.
Say, okay, give me the movie that led up to this point. And then you... But what it can also, like, okay, here's a picture. Give me a movie based on that picture. And so, obviously, what you can see there is you can chain this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here's... Because it can only generate a minute of footage at a time. You say, okay, here's the last frame of that footage. Now generate me another minute of footage and another minute.
You can also keyframe with that.
The issue with that is that the videos are insanely consistent, right? Like there's a video of this Chinese festival. A dragon goes in front of a woman in the crowd, and then it leaves, and the woman has the exact same face, exact same clothes. So it's temporally consistent. Like people don't just disappear and reappear. They don't just like everything makes sense. It's like it's created a 3D world. It has a physics model in it. It models like physical interactions. It does all that sort of stuff. But it might not be able to do that from like one clip to the next if you were chaining it.
Now, see, I don't know how technology works. Yeah. I really don't understand how this stuff works. I maybe understand it slightly better.
Okay, I'll give you a 30-second explanation.
No, but what I'm getting to is potentially, because this is just like one stepping stone along the way. Like, you could have a start frame and an end frame. And you say, get from this frame to that frame. Because what animation is you have keyframers. They draw the two things.
Yeah.
And then they say, and then you have the lesser animators who draw everything in between the keyframes. And so they do all the framing.
Right. So you could just say, do a
and so
12 frame per hour video and then get another AI to do the rest or something.
Well, you could do that. Like you could make it interpolate animation. But what I was thinking is you have a keyframe of, let's say, the two of us.
Yeah.
So it starts with us just standing there. And then the next keyframe has you on your butt and me like doing a Bruce Lee kick.
Yeah.
And then we have another keyframe of you standing over me like going roar with your arms. And so we have those are our frames. And then we say interpolate what happened.
Oh yeah, it could do that. It can do that, yes. But the issue is it can only do that for a minute.
Yeah.
Because if you tried to chain them together, it no longer has the same worlds modeled for everything, and I think it models a new world in each, right? Otherwise, they'd just say it can make arbitrary length videos. So the woman, if she disappears behind the dragon in video 1, she'll not reappear behind the dragon in video 2 because it's a new instance. But you can do just, if that was a minute long, I'm pretty sure you can do that along the way. Yeah. So Sora came out, it blew everyone's minds, it's amazing. And people are like, okay, well, they're just cherry picking. But then they have a section on their release paper where they're like, here's some mistakes. And you see the mistakes, and the mistakes are still amazing. And then, if that wasn't enough, Sam Altman, head of OpenAI, on his Twitter is saying, I'm open to requests. And so people send something, 5 minutes later, he's like, boom, there's your video. So they're not cherry picking because they don't have the time to, unless they've got way more computing power than you, or it takes almost no computing power to do, which is a story in of itself, because that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And if Sam Altman's able to generate 100 copies and cherry pick one in like 10 seconds, that's amazing on its own.
Well, even on the computing, so the first software that I had for image generation, I would have it generate like 20 images, and I'd leave the house.
Yeah.
And then I'd come back and be done. And it would take quite a while. The 1111 is a bit faster, unless I make it do something of higher detail, then it's slower. But it's a lot better. And it does things that one couldn't do. And there are faster versions of 1111. Like if you go into, what is it called? Midjourney. Midjourney's fast.
Yeah.
It's really fast.
Yes, but it's not because of the technology.
No.
It's because of the power behind the computers the Midjourney is using. Yeah. So Automatic 1111 isn't... That's just the front end. The technology is in the Stable Diffusion model itself.
All right, well, then we'll get rid of Midjourney stuff. But still, 1111 has gotten faster and has gotten better.
That's they've optimized Automatic 1111, yes.
Yeah.
But if you want to look at the major innovations in image generation, it's like LCM or SDXL Turbo. These are where the model itself is getting much faster and much quicker to use.
Yeah, and when those get easy to use, then I might use them.
Yeah. Well, they are. Well, if you use Comfy UI,
I refuse to use Comfy UI.
If you use Comfy, they're easy to use. LCM you can use on Automatic 1111 with a few hacks. But Automatic 11.11 1.8, which is about to come out, natively supports LCM, and then we'll see.
It's easy. Just use No, I'm not using Comfy UI.
There are ways to make Comfy easy, but
my point being that Comfy UI is a lot better than just like doing text into a machine and trying to get results and trying to understand it. But for technology, for me to be able to use it, and for general people to be able to use it, it has to be something on the level of 11.11 UI.
it has to be like Midjourney or something, yeah.
Well, no, Midjourney is even simpler.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, Midjourney is wide adoption. For me, my level is 11.11.
Yeah.
That's what I require. If you're not giving me a UI like that, I have tried to make it work without that. I have spent probably over 24 hours of time's worth trying to get these things working. I'm not doing that anymore. I've been burned by it every time. No.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't think Comfy is more in depth than Automatic 11.11. I just think it has a worse interface.
Yeah, that's why I want a nice interface. That's what I'm getting at. It has to have a usable, nice interface that's pleasing to look at and can be figured out by watching one Polish man speak.
So what you can do with Comfy, this is what a lot of people do that say it's easy, is you can just drag someone else's Comfy picture into Comfy, and it will automatically build the workflow that was used for that picture, and then you don't actually touch anything. You just kind of steal other people's work and then go from there. So that's how you make it easy. But so Sora was the big thing, but the thing it covered up that was the biggest innovation since ChatGPT was released was Gemini 1.5 from Google. It's hard not to sound like you're baby speaking. So Gemini 1. So ChatGPT 4. No, GPT-4 Turbo. Hearing ChatGPT, it's like ruined GPT as a word for me. But anyways, GPT-4 Turbo is the most advanced model that OpenAI has released, and it has a context window of 128,000 tokens. And I think we've talked about tokens before. They're a gathering of characters from like 2 characters to maybe like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And so that's how much it can take into account when you ask it a question. So you can say, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? If it had a token window of, let's say, 3, and you said, what is the capital of Spain? You've already exceeded the token window. So it can only read the last couple letters of your sentence.
Yeah.
But if you have a token window of 128,000, like GPT-4 Turbo has, you can say, okay, here's a book. What are the 3 funniest moments from that book? And it can say, oh, it's this moment, and this moment. So the thing about that is where in the token window the data is matters. If it's in the first 25% or so, it can get it 100% of the time. It can say, okay, the thing you're looking for is here. If it's in the last few tokens, like the last 5% of tokens, it gets it almost every time. It's like, yep, the data you're looking for is here. If it's in the middle, especially in the very middle, it has a lot of trouble finding the data you're looking for. It's like it gets lost in the stack of papers, basically, right? So it has troubles finding the data in the middle. And, that makes sort of intuitive sense to a human, I think.
Yeah.
It's easier to find stuff in a book that's at the beginning or at the end, and the middle it's a lot harder to sift through. Yeah. So Gemini 1.5 came out, which is an update of Gemini, and it has a token window of 1 million tokens. And they've also tested it up to 10 million tokens.
That's a lot of tokens.
So the test they do for these things is called a needle in a haystack test, and that's how they test at each layer. So they ask it to retrieve information, and they do it like 20 times at each level. So they're like, okay, in the first 5%, in the first 10%, in the first 15%, and they see how many times it gets it correct.
Yeah.
So they have these graphs you can look at where it's like a heat map. And so there's a lot of red in like the GPT-4 Turbo, even though GPT-4 Turbo is very impressive.
Yeah.
So that was the problem with extending context. First of all, extending context was very difficult, but then Microsoft released a paper where they said, okay, we can increase context to about 1 billion tokens. But the problem is that the quality of your answers declines the more tokens you add, even though it can actually handle them. Before it would be an error, right? You can't do it at all. But then Microsoft said, yeah, you can do it for basically any amount of tokens, but the quality declines rapidly over time. So Gemini comes out and they say, okay, so we've got up to 10 million tokens that you can do it for. But the question is, how accurate is it? 99% accurate.
It's pretty good.
It made like one mistake in their testing, basically.
Yeah.
And so so this thing, it has a context window that is 10 to 100 times larger than the best model out there. And not only that, it can pick out data from anywhere in the data you give it. They did an example where they gave it a dictionary in a obscure Polynesian language that isn't in the data set whatsoever. They said, okay, using this dictionary, translate this sentence into that language. And it did it to the same degree that humans do it. So you can now give this thing books it's never seen before and say, tell me about this. It can also do, it's multimodal. So you can, they gave it a Buster Keaton movie, which was 40 minutes long. Yeah. And they said, find this scene. And they give this horrible, like, stick hand drawing. They gave it a stick drawing of a scene where there's a water tower pouring water into a guy's head. Yeah. But it's like the stick drawing that it looks like, a child drew it. And they say, find this scene. And it said, oh, that's at minute 12 and 8 seconds. So it can, and they gave it the Apollo mission transcription, which is 400 pages long. It's everything the astronauts did over the course of however many days. And they said, find 3 funny moments in this and explain why they're funny. And it took it like 2 minutes. It's like, here's 3 funny moments from the Apollo records.
So we have to give it the manuscript was the Voynich manuscript and say, translate this. And then it'll explode.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it seems to me that what you could do is give this thing a bunch of like chemistry documents.
Yeah.
And say, okay, find out where the holes in metamaterials are. And then it discovers the next graphene or something. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems to me that if it's able to compare new data that you give it, then you can ask it to interpolate data, right? Like, now, it does. So then what they did was they said, okay, so we've got this amazing, we've trained our weakest model, we've retrained our weakest model to have this new architecture. Well, it's not even a new architecture. It's just it's a change to the architecture, but it's not new. And they said, okay, so this is amazing. Our context window is now way longer than the best out there. And it's way more accurate than the best out there. Like, it's perfect, basically.
Yeah.
So what's the trade-off, right? Because, it's like, okay, so we'll compare it to the original model on all... So it's great at finding information, but how's it at answering, right? Because just because it has a perfect memory, like, baseline computers have an even better memory. They have 100% retrieval, and they can search anywhere, right? Like, they're actually even better. Like, baseline computers are way better at math. And so, okay, so we're going to redo all the tests. Like, we'll give it the MMLU, we'll give it the HeliSwag test, we'll give it the human evaluation test, we'll redo all the tests and compare it to it before we changed it. Like, okay, what's the trade-off? Will it be a little bit weaker at math now that we've done this, or will it be a little bit weaker at law or medicine? It's better at everything. Sometimes up to 40% better. It's actually so much better that their bigger model, so they have 2 tiers of model, or maybe even 3 tiers of model, their second tier up model is now equivalent to that model, even though it's way smaller. And they haven't added this infrastructure to their bigger model yet because it takes time to add.
Yeah.
And so they are adding it now, but it's going to take some time to do.
Are they skipping tier 3 and adding it to tier 3?
I don't know. I hope they're adding it to all of them. But it's just it's essentially AI overnight got 100 times better.
Well, it sounds like it only got 40% better.
Well, it got 40% better at... Okay, so look at it this way then. It got 10 to 100 times better at tasks, except before it was only about 70% accurate. So let's take the lowest of 10 times better at context, right? Yeah. But then it's doing the task at 100% accuracy instead of 75% accuracy. So that makes it... I don't know how you calculate that. You could say it's 25% better, but that's not actually the case. Like, it's actually way better, right? Because what you're looking at is the error reduction. So it had 25% errors, now it has 1% errors, so it's 25 times better.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 250 times better, but then it's also doing 40% better. So now you take 250% and you add another 50% on that. So that's 335 times, or whatever it is, 340 maybe, 340 times better than the previous best, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And then that's not even their top model yet. And this is just something that came out of nowhere, just boom. And then Sora came out and suddenly boom. Now, it still has, I think the interesting thing here is we always find a new weakness. We always, now the AI can do everything we ever wanted, and it turns out we actually wanted way more from it.
Yeah.
So in this case, the finding the needle in the haystack test, it can do flawlessly. But if you ask it to find 2 needles or 3 needles or 4 needles, it does a lot worse.
Yeah.
And so now we have a new type of error chart where they actually had to invent new tests for it because they were like, okay, here's all of our tests. It does so well on them, the tests are useless.
So, when you're playing RimWorld.
Yeah.
And you have, all right, I need to get food for my guys. I need to set up bedrooms, so I have these buildings to build. So you have this list of things to do. And you start getting them, and you start getting research. And you're about, 90% to your initial goal. So you have your farm set up, you have almost all the bedrooms done, you have power is producing now, you have a few defenses up. Now, all right, if we took where we were, started, we're 90% done, the colony. But then you're like, all right, let's add some nuclear power here, let's build a better wall, let's add some gun turrets, let's do this thing, let's recruit 3 new colonists and build houses for them. And suddenly you're back to 50% of the way there.
Yeah.
And so the goalpost shifts are the new goal. And so it's very much like that.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's
But if you go back to where you were, it's everything I ever wanted. But
you know what it's like, though, even more so? You start in tribal age in RimWorld, right?
Yeah.
And you're researching, and you get pemmican, and then you get sleeping spots, and then you get...
how many sleeping spots research?
Okay, bedrolls. You get bedrolls unlocked, and then you get herbal medicine, you get tree sowing, and then... you get a big one, you get beds unlocked, and then you unlock, machine guns. And there's nothing in between. You go from, bedrolls to machine guns.
Yeah.
You skip an entire age, right? Basically? You skip, the entire medieval age.
Yeah.
And you go, man, I need a lot more stuff to make these machine guns worth my while. It's you suddenly... You are 10 years... Well, in terms of AI... We're 3 years ahead of schedule in a day, basically, with the announcement. They were working on this for a while, right? But with that announcement, we're 3 years ahead of schedule suddenly. Even people who are saying this stuff's going fast, they're by the end of this year, it's going to be where this thing is now.
Yeah.
And now we're but it can only do 1 needle in the haystack, and it can. Yeah. And it's actually funny because AGI is this term that's floating around, right? Where AIs match human capabilities in all tasks, roughly.
Yeah.
Maybe not every task, because a human's going to be a better sprinter than an AI, because you can't compare them. But in general, an AI is better than a human. And the funny thing is, it's hard to really pin down that definition, so there's a bunch of different definitions for AGI. But the thing is, if you took a definition for AGI 10 years ago, or you took every definition for AGI 10 years ago, it's basically been fulfilled already by AI. Yeah. And then if you look at, and it's even...
Well, it can pass the Turing test.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The Turing test was the big one, and it can pass it. And we're okay, well, it's not really AGI.
The Turing test has so many flaws. Yeah. There's a lot of problems, It
has to do this test instead to really be AGI. And so you look at 2 years ago, when it started passing the Turing test, or no, that was 4 years ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, it starts passing the Turing test, somewhere in there, 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, so our new definition of AGI is this. And that was passed 3 years ago. And so, okay, well, here's our new definition. So our goalpost for AI will never become AGI. We're going to keep pushing. But it's and then the video generation, we went from these incredibly exponentially fast video improvements where we're thinking, okay, by the end of 2024, we're going to have maybe a minute of footage that looks okay. That's sort of what we're looking at. And then it's no, we have 1 to 2 minutes of footage at the start of 2024 that look basically indistinguishable from reality. I think, for me, it completely jumps over the uncanny valley.
Well, I'll have to see some of this stuff, because I've only seen the video of their rotation.
Even the ones where it messes up in the people's hands, like their number of fingers change and their hands fold inside out, or like they're picking up this plastic chair and the chair is warping and flipping and moving. Even then, it looks real. It looks like a weird dream. It doesn't look fake. It doesn't look... Now, but that said, I remember when James Bond 007 Nightfire came out for the GameCube. And I thought, this game looks real.
Well, do you remember the train movie?
Yeah, Polar Express. Yeah, it looks real. And also Adventures of Tintin. It looks real. But, okay, so there's two layers to that, though. CRT TVs, images look way better on them.
Yeah.
So you can't look at it now and say, oh, people thought this looked real, that's ridiculous. Because CRT TVs, the sort of warping effect they had actually worked really well with the human eye to allow us to fill in the details.
Yeah.
And so anything you saw on a TV... Like, for example, if you see the news on TV versus you see Polar Express on TV, they looked about the same level of fidelity. They both looked real. Except the thing about...
I saw Polar Express, though, on theater.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have been using...
But everything on the theater looked slightly off. Like, our theaters looked off. Like, Harry Potter looked off. I mean, it was upside down and playing in Spanish, but...
Yeah, I don't know. So that's a good point. If you saw it in the theater, it might have been different.
Well, I think the theater quality is lower, and so you can fill in the details with the theater quality being lower.
But with the video game example, it's definitely a case of the CRT TV made James Bond look way more realistic.
Yes.
And it's funny, though, because if you compare GoldenEye to Nightfire, which is the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube, back in the day, when you played both of them, Nightfire seemed like this huge upgrade in graphics. But looking at it now from a more objective lens, where you're more used to 3D technology, they didn't actually do that much between the games. Like, because the GameCube, I don't believe it was like insanely more powerful than the 64.
And its discs just have more storage? Wasn't that the main thing?
I think the GameCube was like the Wii was the one where they gave up on like improving it, I think, but I think the GameCube they're still improving it. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but the games actually look roughly the same. Yeah. But I think what they did was they took more advantage of the technology. So they were like, okay, CRTV would make this look better than this. So the features are sharper, they have more, like, they put the work in where people will notice it more.
Yeah.
And so it looked way better. But if you look at them now, I think GoldenEye actually holds up better because some of like the more low poly early 3D video games actually look more stylistic now rather than the ones that try to look realistic, and now they look like weird clay dolls that don't quite work out. I was actually playing
I kind of like the weird clay doll look personally.
Yeah, there's this weird thing I've been noticing where I guess it's your generation, although I don't know if generations really matter anymore, and like if we would be in different ones, but there's that difference there, so it might be. But
the new retro's weird clay doll.
Yeah, the new retro is like PS1, GameCube style stuff. When that stuff looked ugly like 2 hours after it came out. It's like what do you think of Here's My Magic 5?
It's okay looking. It looks like World of Warcraft.
I think it's the worst looking game in the series. I think it's hideous. I think World of Warcraft's hideous too. I think they're both horrible looking.
Like Twilight Princess, I kind of like the look of it. See,
Twilight Princess is a bit further along.
Yeah, too. But it's not that I like.
Like Ocarina of Time looks way better than Twilight Princess.
Yes, it does. No, I like them, and I think I actually do just have a feeling of nostalgia for them because 3 and 2 just look better than 5.
And Here's My Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the Zelda games, like the...
Well, I think of the 3D games, the best looking 3D game is Wind Waker.
Yeah. Like, I like Wind Waker's style, and that's because they lean in... When you go with 3D, this is just something on general, you have to lean into the 3D.
Yeah.
You actually have to lean into it. So there's a 3D animation...
Well, stylistic holds up better than realistic.
Yeah, so there's a 3D animation from France called Miraculous Ladybug. And... it's like a low-budget well, mid-budget, I guess, 3D animation TV series. And what they decided to do is, so there's the Pixar style, and Pixar has their own 3D style, and I kind of despise Pixar's 3D art style. Like, I don't know, something off it I just don't like. But they're close to Pixar, but they went more with, we're lower budget, but it's not like we're terrible low budget. And we're going to go with a style. We're not going to try and make it look like human. You remember the Mega Block show with the Dragon Riders?
Yeah.
So it's not like that sort of quality of 3D where we're trying to get closer to realistic, or Tomb Raider, we're trying to get closer to realistics. No, we are a cartoon. And we're going to embrace the 3D, and we're going to play with this. But we're going to be different than Pixar with this embrace. Because too many things go, we're going to be 3D, we accept it, and we're going to clone Pixar.
It's been a while since I've really looked at the AAA games, but what are like the best looking, realistic looking games out there? Like, I think Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Last of Us 2, when they came out, I think they were probably the best looking ones. That cat game, I don't know if that's good looking.
Stray?
Yeah.
Stray is pretty good looking.
But I think that, like, Last of Us 2, for example, won't hold up in the long run.
No, it won't at all.
Even though it looks really good. But Star Wars Battlefront might.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit, like, it's Star Wars, so it's a bit more fantasy, a bit more cartoony.
So there's a game I can't recommend because it spies on you and has other problems. But it's Helldivers 2. And
Helldivers spies on you?
Helldivers 2 does.
The game about spreading liberty and freedom wherever you go.
Yeah, it has an anti-cheat software, which has had several scandals.
Isn't it a, like, game you just play with your friends?
Yeah, but there's some competitive stuff, and they add an in-game store to it and various other things.
Oh, in-game store.
Yeah, that's one of the other reasons I can't recommend it, is I paid $40 for this game, and it has an in-game store.
Yeah, that's gross.
And I was like, I was iffy about buying it, but then I was looking at some gameplay and stuff, and I really liked Helldivers 1.
I was introduced to Helldivers in like the worst possible way. I have
sorry.
no love for that game. And maybe I would like it, but it was such a bad experience.
Helldivers is Magica with guns.
Yeah, that's not what I felt. I was just, I don't know. It was bad. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, so Helldivers 2 is a completely different game, though. But anyways, I was watching Starship Troopers. And that can sort of let you date when we record this.
Yeah. Really? Isn't Starship Troopers an old movie?
Yeah, but it's that year cycle of people on Twitter talking about Starship Troopers.
Aren't they always talking about Starship Troopers?
Yeah, but that comes in cycles, so you can guess the cycle.
Okay.
But anyway, so I watched Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
And that may have... Well, I bought the game and I watched it at the same time. I couldn't actually play the game because servers were full. But then...
Oh, it's online?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there's multiple reasons why I can't recommend it. But anyways, when I was playing a bit, it's like playing Starship Troopers, the game. And it looks really cool. It looks great. It's not like... It has its own stylistic art, but like there's so many little details, like destructible terrain things going on in it, and water glycerine. Like when you shoot the bugs, you get their green splatter on your guys, and so it's very much like that scene in Starship Troopers where they're shooting the bugs and they get the splatter on them, and it's like, oh, gross, and the guy shoots it more, get more splatter on him. So you can very much feel that sort of thing going on. It's also just good gameplay as well. But the game it's not going for, ooh, I'm super realistic. It's, I look good.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing. It's, I look good. It's not like, I look like the real world. You can't distinguish between the two. They abandoned that.
Yeah, so it's going to hold up for...
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think... what's that game that's coming out? You play as a SWAT officer.
Oh, the footage thing.
Yeah, the found footage type, like, first-person shooter. That game might be the first that actually looks realistic forever.
There was the Backrooms game that did that.
Mm.
That game's trippy. But on a different stylistic level, like when it comes out, we'll have to judge. But from the trailers, Black Myth, or the Monkey King game?
Yeah, Wukong, yeah.
Yeah, Wukong. That game, like they're doing a bunch of things with hair physics for him. And the Korean and Chinese market has been doing that for ages, actually, of really trying to...
Yeah, I think it looks like a pretty, like, Korean game type of thing. It doesn't look real.
Yeah, but that's like the Korean and Chinese and Asian market for a long time has been really pushing hair physics.
I think the big thing about Black Myth is that was, like, one guy or 6 guys or something. Like,
It's a Chinese team of about 6 people, yeah.
It's not a AAA development, but it was able to get that level of fidelity. It's not that it.
Yeah.
So.
But it looks like it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good, but I don't think it will. I don't think 20 years from now we'll say that was super realistic looking.
No.
I don't. But
well, I'm not saying it's realistic, but it has its own style
Yeah.
as well. It's got the Korean video game style, actually.
Yeah, but I don't think like Black Desert Online and those sort of games. They look pretty, but they're not like Wind Waker.
Yeah.
You see that and you're like, that's Wind Waker. Whereas you look at a Korean RPG.
You look at Black Desert, and it's like, is that Black Desert, or is that this one, or is that?
You look at it and you're like, that's a Korean RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whereas you see, I think even Red Dead Redemption might hold up in the future. Just like GTA 5.
Oh yeah.
That's not realistic looking, but it's
It looks
not
like GTA. It's satisfying to watch GTA. I like watching GTA more than playing it. I bought it and I was playing like the online stuff because I bought the online and I have the single player with that, and it's fun enough. But I actually enjoy like watching it more. Like maybe if I download custom maps and play with people, I'd like it. But just playing the base game without it, like just watching a car tumble down something, it's just something about that.
Well, it's funny. I have GTA 5 on my wish list, but I'm not sure if I want it or not because I love the game, right?
Yeah.
But every time I've ever played it, it's been that old. You sit on the couch
with friends, you pass the controller back and forth.
Every time you die, yeah. And that's a different experience. Like I was playing Nightfire recently with a friend. We were doing we're playing the hardest difficulty. You go into the mission. If you die, you pass it off, and the other guy has to try doing the mission. Yeah. It's so fun. It's a different experience, and you're half rooting for your friend and half like, come on, die. I got a new plan for. And the great thing about a thing like Nightfire. I never appreciated this when I was younger, and I didn't play the actual missions much. I mostly just played the multiplayer. But the missions it's basically an immersive sim. Like there's so many different ways to do stuff, and it's so
it's like Hitman.
Yeah, but like there's this mission at the very first mission, right? You have to break into this castle, and there's tons of guards, and you have to stealthily take them down so they don't notice each other. Very hard. But I had the menu open because I was trying to fix the controls because we were playing on a
way to play the game.
We were playing on a complicated way to play the game. Yeah. Yes. We actually do own the game, but yes, we were playing. We were using a Wii control. Oh no, we weren't using a Wii controller, but we had a Wii controller hooked up at one point, so we were trying to make it work on the GameCube controller. Yeah. So we were working with that. We were fiddling around, and I opened up the hint screen, and it's like the truck goes into the facility, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a bridge over the highway. So I climbed onto the bridge over the highway, and there's this truck that comes in. Yeah. And so I jumped off the bridge into the back of the truck and then crouched down. And the truck stops at the gate, and then the guards let it in, and it goes all the way in through all the guards and just keeps going, and then you win the mission. And it's just this totally different way to do it. And then, you have your little gadget, you can like disable security stuff with your laser. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. It's neat. But it's a different experience just passing back and forth with a friend rather than... just playing it on your own.
Well, that different experience, I thought of a YouTube channel you could do. And it's used specifically because this is my experience. And it'd be called the Big Brother Experience. Yeah. And what it is you have the camera, you don't have a face cam. Instead, so you record your screen, but then your camera, instead of a face cam, is this over-shoulder cam. Yeah. And so you can turn and talk to every once in a while. But it's mostly... watching from a few feet back, standing there, looking over someone's shoulder while they play a video game.
I think that's kind of what streamers do in a way, I guess.
Yeah, but it's going into that even more of you're watching your big brother play a video game, and so you have the stream set up to do that. And so it's prospectively like that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting, yeah. I think, so getting back to the point is, with the AI, I don't know if 5 years, or at this rate, 6 months from now, I'll be saying Sora looks past the Uncanny Valley anymore. But you see, the thing with Tintin and with Polar Express was they looked real, right? Yeah. And Nightfire, they looked real. But I was watching them and I was like, wait, is that video footage or is that animated? Or there's some, I can't, or is it switching back and forth? Or, I was looking, right? I don't go on alert with Sora. It's just you look at it, and there's interest. I've seen reporting on Sora, right? Yeah. Like you were talking about that, where they combined the footage of the drone and the footage of the snow globe. Yeah. There's people talking about that, so they took these two non-AI videos and they combined it, and No, both the original videos were also AI.
Yeah.
And even the people reporting on it don't know what's real and what's not. There's one where like the one where they combine a bird and a gecko.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so they took two nature videos and then they got this weird bird gecko hybrid. No, both the gecko and the bird originally were also AI generated.
Yeah. One of the things like if you're not certain if you'll be able to tell and people are getting confused. I have been like phone ads and computer. There's so much AI art now in ads.
Yeah.
Like they jumped on that. Like I don't have to pay an artist 50 cents to,
Yeah.
or I don't have to steal art from someone. I can just like use AI to do this instead. There is so much AI art now, and they're using very basic like models or something, and so you can sort of tell what AI art is when it's bad AI art. But when it's higher quality stuff, or the person who's putting it together actually knows what they're doing,
Yeah, or they put some work into it.
you can't tell.
Yeah.
But like you can tell with a lot of things it's AI art if the person's lazy. So I wonder if there will be the certain little tells, because like it used to be, oh look at the hands. It's like it's not look at that. It's how do you do art? How does someone do art? Would a human make art like this? That's how I tell.
I saw people, it was like a month ago or something, joking about, you know, you can get these fingers you stick on your hand so people think it's AI generated because there's an extra finger. That was like a month ago. And it's like, that problem of extra fingers was solved like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Like the people that, and these are people that are in the know having a discourse, right? It's the bleeding edge of this. If you're out of it for 2 weeks, you have no idea where it is anymore.
Yeah, but it's literally how you tell if something's AI art or not, and it's getting harder and harder to do this, and it really depends on the work someone puts into it.
Is the composition is bad.
Is the composition bad? And would an artist make art like this? Like, would a human do this?
Yeah.
And then if they did this, how would they do that?
Would they make such a boring, lifeless picture?
Yeah.
And lifeless isn't, there's no soul behind it. No, lifeless is, what life is in an image is someone cared about the picture. They were like, and it's not like, oh, you feel this quality of the human soul. It's no, someone, whether it's AI generated or not, it can have life in it, or it can be lifeless.
Yeah.
But what the life is you saying, I need the image to look this way. I need the arm to be raised like this. I need it's not just a person's, when you go into a neutral pose for a passport photo, your arms dangle at your side, your face is relaxed, you're staring straight ahead. That's what a lot of this AI footage is the equivalent of, even if it's your anime wife who's smiling on a beach.
Yeah.
She's perfectly centered. There's no dynamism. There's nothing going on. It's just this face. Look, there's like, where's the art? Where's the...
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? This is so inoffensive, you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, at least have her stabbing a puppy or something, then you're saying something. Like, you have those lifeless eyes stabbing a puppy, you're saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to do. Who was talking about they need to get a squashed horse? I think that might have been a help question on the Stable Diffusion subreddit. They're like, how do I get a squashed horse?
Sorry, the only thing I know about horses is not something I wish to talk about.
And people were suggesting, like, well, if you say, like, you know, meatballs in front of a horse that's lying flat, and you sort of...
I don't know about that stuff. But it's very much, like, just, again, what you said, but another way, how to tell us AI art is, you know the smoothing tool.
Yeah. So,
like, you can go over an image and use a smoothing tool. If the image looks like that was really, really well done to the whole thing, and it's not like, oh, that was actually applied. The image looks like a smoothing tool product. Those are really bad basic models of AI.
I've been seeing some weird stuff where it's YouTube videos, right?
Yeah.
Instagram filters, I'm not sure what they're doing, but you look at this person, you're like, that person... It's not that they're good looking, like they are, but it's like they look like a doll.
So,
and then it's like, oh wait, they're using a filter of some sort.
So I've been on Tinder for a bit, and so I look at images on, and there's several things you can notice with Tinder, and this is probably true with Instagram. I don't use Instagram all that much, but so a lot of people use a filter.
Yeah.
And one of the things that filter does is it makes your face look less fat.
Yeah.
It makes it look smaller. And so you see the filter, and the person's like generally attractive, but they look like everyone else. And then you like look basically below the chin line to see how the filters apply to it. There are more advanced filters that actually change the whole body, but you look at that, and then you can look at things like someone will hold something in front of their face, like using your camera to take a picture of yourself. And it's like, this person has no confidence in their appearance, and I can see why. They're overweight ogress.
Yeah.
No offense, but... And there's a bunch of tricks.
It's not the first time I've been called an overweight ogress.
But there's a bunch of things, like you take a picture with your attractive friends, and so there's the three of you, and it's like, which one of these girls is the one on the profile? And I'm doing Tinder wrong because I'm not going yes to everything. I actually...
Okay.
I conscientiously judge on what sorts of level of honesty and effort people put into their images. That's how I base my Tinder on.
New Tinder metagame, right?
Yeah.
You hold a piece of grid paper against your cheek while you take the photo. So if the grid is warped, people know that you're using an AI to fake your face. But then what happens is specially warped grid paper starts getting made so that the AI filter straightens it. And then...
No, then there's just the grid paper warp filter.
Oh, I guess, yeah. The arms race continues. Yeah.
But there's a huge amount of visual things you can recognize in Tinder. Some are... And, like, the tricks always are different levels. Like I said, there's the holding something in front of your face to cover it. There's different camera angles, like taking a high angle, taking a low angle. There's using filters. And the same thing... Like, one of the things I hate is I'll be on X, and I'll be scrolling through it. And it's like, this is such a beautiful location. And it shows the snowy road in Norway. And then it shows the sky with these unbelievable northern lights in the sky. Unbelievable. That's not what northern lights look like.
Yeah.
They're not these golden strands coming from heaven with the stars shining behind them. That's not possible. That doesn't exist on Earth.
They block out the stars, yeah.
Yeah, it's not possible on Earth. And then it's like, oh, this is such a nice location. It's like, grass isn't that green. And so that's like a video editing. Some of them are AI filters. And Dad's friend is really into video editing, like footage and photography. And her kids are quite young and they're getting into Minecraft. And she sent me this video, which is the Minecraft movie. And it was a fan-made movie trailer. And so it's that thing, but she thought it was real. I was looking at it like, man, there are some things about this which are really, really weird. I don't know what's going on with this trailer because, like, certain things I recognize of, like, they had a creeper in a 3D model, and it's like, this is someone who said Wolf Creeper was uncanny real, you know, those sort of animations. So I recognize some of those things. And, like, there's these actors in here, and I recognize them, but something's really weird. And so I went down, and it says, we're a group that's using AI to make these things. And so basically AI is stitching stuff together and sometimes editing things and putting this video together. And so it's like, I used to be quite good at recognizing fan trailer. And some are better than others, some are worse. But I was like, I almost immediately recognize this as a fan trailer. But there's still some weird art thing about it. But to go further on this and to reiterate a point, there is AI art that I can't recognize as AI art. I make some of that. And it's like, I only know it's AI art because I made it myself. And so with this video thing, I really want to see some more of them. But it's like, geesh.
No, the thing that... I thought we were going to get to this point, right? Like, I think a lot of people thought we were going to get to this point. But there was no natural progression towards it. It just boom, boom.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's a lot further along than we thought it was. But on the other hand,
that's how it kind of appeared though, for a lot of people.
Yeah, and if you're paying attention, well, I think ChatGPT was a big thing, right? But I think
it was a novelty.
I think the big thing with Sora and Gemini 1.5 is if you were paying attention, you were caught off guard.
Yeah.
All the same.
Well, even with ChatGPT and GPT, the first public one, where you were playing those D&D games.
Yeah, that was GPT-2. Even.
Yeah, and we were talking with Romney about how, like, maybe in the future it'll make video games instead.
Yeah.
It was, like, to me, it was a novelty. Like, I It's just like, oh, this is an interesting library access thing that just it accesses a lot of data and it can interpolate that data a little bit and it can give you some feedback. That's cool. Okay, moving on. It moved on. It wasn't, oh, I moved on. It went whoosh.
No, AI Dungeon, that was the game, and that was kind of neat in the way. Bit frustrating to use, but that was the game.
Yeah.
I think and there's a few games on Steam now. There's one where it's a detective mystery where you do stuff. There's another game that's not on Steam. You're a vampire that's trying to trick people into letting you into their house. And then there's a few other games in that vein where you're basically talking to the AI and trying to get it to say yes, basically. Yeah. And then there's AI RPG, which I think it's called on Steam, where it gives you an inventory and it creates a map in the style of like Zork or something like that. And you have commands like look at the couch and then pick up the thing, and it sticks into your inventory, and you unlock skills, and then you say use candlelight skill, and it tells you what happened. And it also generates all the images of everything that's going on at the time. So it's pretty cool. It combines everything. Yeah. And the thing it does different than AI Dungeon, because AI Dungeon wasn't quite a game, I think. But the thing that it does differently is it actually doesn't let you choose your own actions. You can only say things. But if you want to do an action, you have to click a button on the screen. But what it does is it gives you buttons that it generates dynamically. And so then, like, it gives you the fireball spell, but it doesn't actually decide that fireball does something. It's just when you click cast, it says, okay, you cast fireball and it succeeds, therefore what happens AI, and then the AI does. Yeah. So it gives you that extra layer. And even then, it's not quite a game. But there's a game that's actually getting quite popular, like AI Dungeon did in the day, I guess, right now, on Neil.fun, on that website. I'm sure you've seen his website before. He does, like, the trolley problems, and he did a few other things. And he's created like a doodle god type game where you combine words, so you can create fire and water and you get steam. And have you seen that game? Infinite Combinations or whatever it's called?
I haven't seen this.
And it's powered by an AI, so it has actually infinite combinations. Yeah. And so you can there's people now doing challenges. Like I saw the Beefy Smash Dudes. They did a challenge where it's like you have to get the Beefy Smash Dudes on this, and you have to get a Smash Bros character, and you have to get this, and you have to get this. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So I'm a part of. They contacted me. I think I told you about them. I was very careful, but no, I didn't tell you about this. So a group contacted me quite a while back about testing AI Minecraft Buddy. And they've been pretty slow about like actually getting me to test it.
What's her name? That
Nirasama.
No. Janet, is that the mod? There's like this Minecraft sex doll mod that's been around for years. Okay. No, it's not that one?
No. So this is basically, and they have a bunch of people and they've like public announcements, but they've also reached out to people to help them test. And it's MIT and like is working on it. Well, these guys went to MIT and then they left.
Right.
So it's like a group of people and they want some people to test on it. But the idea from what they described is basically you type into chat to this AI buddy and like build a house. And it plays kind of like a derpy human would play with you. I haven't seen any of its footage yet. I'm interested in testing it and playing around with it.
I would be so scared of like that being a scam. Like even if it's not a scam,
I was super scared of it being a scam. Yeah. What I said is, I think this is a scam. Prove to me it isn't. And so the guys went, all right, here's our LinkedIn page. Yeah. And so I connected it with LinkedIn and I talked to them on that. And I was like, okay, I'm still uncertain about that. And they're like, all right. And then they like attached me to their Discord. There's a bunch of other people there. They have like video proof of it. Their names they gave. Like I was very careful on that.
Yeah.
An actual scam. Completely unrelated to the AI, but just how evil companies are and scams can be. Is Lucky Kong contacted me. It's like, we want you to be a streamer with us and to play our game. We know how to give you the success to be a streamer.
What's Lucky Kong?
It's an online casino in Canada. And
so it's not a scam exactly.
No, it's evil. Yeah. And so I asked, what does this entail? Because I wasn't certain. I didn't know what they were. It's like, well, you play our casino, you pull our slots, and you give this affiliate link to your viewers, and you keep 60% of all the money that they basically lose.
Wow.
And then you like stream our game, and we'll help you stream and give you slots.
That's a pretty good deal. Jeez.
I have a soul, and I have dignity and I have principles.
Do you still have their email?
I actually still do have the email, but
Okay, yeah. I don't have enough people to actually make money off of that, but yeah, that's a tempting deal, isn't it? That's
well, my thoughts are that I probably wouldn't get any bigger with like they say I could get bigger, but I have like a
no,
certain.
I don't think
size
you'd get bigger, but the thing is, you're not stealing because they're going to lose the money anyways.
Also-
and you're just wait
One
a
of the
minute.
other things, I feel like Lucky Kong's a bit of an idiot because my streams never have views.
So
Like my videos get views, my streams don't. I've tried streaming. My streams don't get views.
casinos, right? They tend to make about like 2 to 15% profit on top of like with their games, right?
Yeah.
So they don't make much money from each game because they don't win.
Yeah.
They just win slightly more than half the time, right?
Yeah.
How can they give you
Because online casinos, you pay them money to pull slots to get not real prizes.
so they're making way more money than
Oh yeah.
right.
Like Gacha game's the better evolution of it, and same with those tower defense. Well, it's just Gacha games. Like the different Gacha games is the higher evolution. Like you get 700, 700, 700 pulls, or 10 rare pulls,
I've been watching
and that's what I hate is they call those pulls, and it actually means pull as in
Yeah.
pulling the arms. Like, do you not realize their wording is this?
EA Sports, like their FIFA games,
Yeah.
they use the wording polls as well for their players.
Yeah.
Because they've turned FIFA into a gotcha game where you get
Yeah.
players out of loot boxes, and then
Okay, why would you ever play that if you could play Honkai Train or whatever it's called, where at least your polls can be cute girls with jiggly butts? Like, why do you want soccer players when?
are you saying you'd rather have some anime girl than Ronaldo, the greatest man on earth?
Yes.
You disgust me. There's only one kind of person that would rather have an anime waifu than Ronaldo. That's a North American. A filthy, disgusting North American. The rest of the world has taste. Well, actually, I don't know about Japan. I don't know what their thoughts on football are.
I don't know if gacha games are legal in Japan.
No, but forget the gotcha game. I'm talking about football here.
I don't know if FIFA's legal in Japan, the FIFA game.
But
Japanese love soccer.
I thought they were more baseball types.
Oh, they love baseball and they love soccer. That's their two sports.
Soccer?
Sorry, football.
You call the sacred sport soccer?
The Japanese love baseball and football.
Yeah. I'm not much of a soccer fan either, actually, but all my friends are.
Yeah, I know.
The EA games are just casinos. They're disgusting.
That's what gacha games are basically as well.
And they also have this thing. They're like mobile games now, the EA Sports games, because you have to play like 3 games a day, or otherwise you lose a streak. And
Yeah.
although Snapchat does that too.
Yeah. No, gacha games do that. There's a lot of games that do that.
I tried playing Genshin Impact because Never Knows Best did a video on it where he said it was. He said he expected to not like it, but he liked it more than Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways, and he thought it was the best video game world that existed out there. Like, not in terms of like, oh, it's so well crafted. He had this question he had tried to answer for years, which was, if you could appear in any video game world suddenly, which video game world would it be?
Yeah.
And his answer used to be Pokemon. Because he thinks that's the most peaceful, beautiful world in games.
There's an apocalypse happening every single game where someone's trying to take over and destroy the world using the dinosaur of time.
Yeah, but they don't succeed. And you know, green energy. Everyone's lovely and friendly.
The power plant runs off electric Pokemon.
Yeah, one with nature.
Okay.
But now he thinks the answer is Genshin Impact. Although that world's kind of like overrun with monsters everywhere.
Yeah, and criminal gangs.
And Paimon.
Yeah.
That's 4 demerits right there. No, I think the world I would.
RimWorld.
RimWorld, yeah, no.
I thought of a superpower actually. This is a weird superpower. So you know that online quiz where it's like pick 2, and it's like, or which superpower would you take, like from these pills, and it's, or it's like get $1,000, never get sick, never pay taxes. So your superpower is if you see one of these hypotheticals, your choices are that you get those results, and that's your superpower. So these like hypotheticals, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have this thing? Or sometimes they're bad, like, would you go? Or it's like, you get pushed into the last video game you played.
Yeah.
Your superpower is these hypothetical quizzes are reality for you.
So if someone says, what video game would you want to be in? Your superpower would put you into that video game? Because
Yes.
But then wouldn't you get like stuck like 20 layers deep in like hypotheticals?
Maybe.
And then like what superpower would you lose your original superpower?
No, you always keep that one.
Right. And like you would get so far from home. But then I guess you could just say,
But also, this power involves the Nigerian scam and like all those things. Like,
right.
You
So you actually...
So it's like you have to pass this on or you will die. So like the 10
geez.
things where the haunted girl gets you.
Oh, well, that's yeah, huh? And so when you have Spooky Bob in the YouTube, in the Steam reviews where you have to help him conquer the world.
Yeah.
Does the spooky skeleton actually conquer the world then?
I think it's only happens if you don't help him. Then it doesn't matter.
Right.
So you just have to go through with it. Basically, you would do the internet a few times and then avoid it for the rest of your life.
Yikes. You get like a chain letter and you have to write out 50 more chain letters.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd want that power.
We could go back to the hypothetical quiz on this power.
If
people ask you hypotheticals.
If you say that you would like the power, do you then get the power? Because
you get it twice and everything else.
So yeah, the world I would like to live in, there's worlds that look beautiful but aren't. Like Here's My Magic 2, right? Yeah. Like you do the campaign and there's...
I was actually thinking about Here's My Magic on that. Video game wizards, I think they're on like tier with Malazan wizards. Like think about it, because those are representing stacks of dudes. So like Chain Lightning is killing several hundred things.
Yeah.
Like it's absurd.
Well, yeah, they're the heroes of Might and Magic. These are the people in Might and Magic which defeat armies on their own. These are very powerful people. Like where Sandro fought a pit lord with his bare hands in the campaign. He just like grabs it by the head and pulls it apart limb from limb. Like these are strong people, yeah. They're very strong, very spooky people. Which I think Heroes 4 actually makes them weaker in a way.
Yeah, same with Heroes 5 of you can just do a run-by attack.
Yeah.
Because if you think about those spells, like they're absurd.
I
won't want to live in the Heroes world.
I think the game world... Well, I think the answer is like one of those cozy games like Stardew Valley or like Slime Rancher or something, right? Like a nice peaceful game. But the problem is they're all like sickeningly saccharine. Like they don't tend to have an edge to them that I can cling to. Like you look at like
what about Minecraft?
No.
Whenever you die, you come back, you respawn in bed.
Giant spiders, undead, roaming the land.
Yeah, but whenever you die, you wake up again in your bed.
Well, the mods I play with.
Well, modded Minecraft. I mean, you could go in a lot of directions there.
So, what's the that game where you climb the mountain?
Celeste?
No, the one where you're a bird.
No. So I was going to say Getting Over It.
No, neither of those.
Is that the world you want me to transport to? Is Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy?
No, a short hike.
Okay.
It's a beautiful world. Very gentle, very peaceful. But again, it's one of those sickeningly sweet, everyone's afraid to offend each other and gets upset at the slightest thing type worlds. But it's very peaceful and beautiful. But would I have to be like a bird person, or could I?
I think the video game world to live in, you'd have to change the scope of video games you play, and start looking at light novels or like those interact novel video games.
Okay, you're trapped in the last video game you played. What video game are you in? I last played...
Oh dear.
I last played...
Can I not be?
Skyrim, I think.
I don't want to be in Helldivers.
It's like 2 days ago I played a game? I can't remember.
I don't want to be in Helldivers. If you asked it before, there's more. It would have been Valheim, which is also kind of bad to be in. But...
I think the real...
Valheim would just be depressing to be in.
I think the real thing to look at here is that most video games wouldn't be pleasant to be in.
No, they're very small dimension.
Well, forget the size. It's just the worlds tend to be bad.
I got
Yeah.
Civilization. Ruled over by my immortal.
Wait, I don't. But I don't know. So
It just-
a lot of war in Civilization.
Yeah, but like in the early age, if you're in the early age, let's say, so technology's quite advanced, right?
Yeah.
And you're in early ages. Between one turn and another turn can be 100 years, and you can accelerate quite fast. So you'd like live for 1,000 years without any world develop. Sorry, like you'd live your whole life, nothing would develop in the world.
Do you want that though? Either.
Yeah. What about Age of Empires?
I don't think so. What about Majesty? That'd be a fun game to be in. That's it's made by the creators of Warlock Master of the Arcane. It was their first game. It's kind of more like Stronghold, so everyone's just ridiculous and silly and you can't place that there, my lord, type stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and you're constantly getting invaded by like monsters, but everyone's like, "Oh, Chrome in the house, Carls,
I think
master of magic."
I think an RPG that's like Stardew Valley. Like you said, there's Sakurai, but there's probably like Graveyard Keeper or something.
I think Graveyard Keeper isn't edgy either. I think it's worse than Stardew Valley actually because it's that fake edgy where they throw in a skeleton and a demon and call it edgy.
Well, Stardew Valley, I don't know if everyone's Sakurai are like too sickeningly sweet.
And I don't like farming, you know. It's
well, you don't have to do the actions the video game world implies. You just have to live in that world.
Yeah, but you have to make a living.
Well, apparently you can just like poke bushes and make thousands of dollars.
Actually, in Pokemon, how do you make a living? Like be
You
a
beat
hunter?
up children for about $10.
Right, you just challenge random people to fights. What if you're like bad though? Like Red is considered exceptional because he can actually level up his Pokemon and go around the world, right? Like if you, I want to be in the Breath of the Wild world, but then Link is the only person that sees dragons and Koroks and ghosts and can fly those hang gliders.
Yeah.
And it's an apocalypse. Every Zelda game's an apocalypse, except Twilight Princess. And there's an apocalypse with the Twilight Realm, I guess. So
Yeah.
even that one. The CDI games, I guess, aren't an apocalypse. The correct answer is the Zelda CDI games.
No.
Zelda 2 has amazing music.
Would the music be playing in the video game world you go to all the time? You go insane.
Are you kidding? I have had dreams where Temple is playing. Like, I already hear Temple music all the time.
Yeah, you're not the greatest example of mental fortitude or health.
Like, you're telling me that you don't always hear the music from Temple. From Smash Bros. That's Zelda 2 music, but the Temple song from Smash Bros. Like, that's just...
What about if Minecraft but it's on peaceful?
not like much to do in Minecraft, is there?
You have ComputerCraft installed.
What do you do with that?
You install more mods into your world.
You make Minecraft. Like Minecraft is very rudimentary survival, right? It's very, I guess that's kind of peaceful in a way.
You could find a village, and
the satisfaction at the end of a day of just looking out over
the villagers are pretty chill with you.
Yeah, just sort of, you just sit there and you're sort of peaceful and yeah. You're not allowed to put it on peaceful mode. That's cheating. Otherwise, you could just put any game on peaceful mode. There's probably some weird game that is actually great, even though it doesn't seem like it. Like Dark Souls, right? Everyone's immortal.
There's not Dark Souls.
Beautiful, interconnected, carefully crafted scenery.
Well, here's some of the things. So certain games, right, will actually put them in that world. So, like Battle for Middle Earth. If you were to say you have to live in that video game,
Yeah.
then you're just in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
During the War of the Ring.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use games based on properties. Because then you would just jump into like Harry Potter or something.
40k. No.
No.
Okay, what about just fantasy? No.
No. You don't want 40k. Hades. Is that cheating?
Not really.
I mean, it's based on a property being the mythology.
Yeah. I mean, you just add this arbitrary rule if you can't go into properties, like
Yeah.
because you could escape into Harry Potter or FIFA.
Yeah, or Star Wars. Yeah.
I go to the FIFA world.
FIFA dimension. Oh.
You realize it's just a FIFA arena in the training room.
Yeah, I think Genshin's got all those monsters. I don't know. I think Pokemon's still better.
I feel like one of those online RPGs that are like social interaction, like the Second Life or the Sims. I mean, there's vampires and werewolves in the Sims. I mean, if we want to go to a place that's just not Earth again, then that's a little different.
Yeah, you can't just go to Earth either, because that's... Yeah, unless you go to the FIFA dimension.
I don't like you go to other Lego dimensions, like Lego Racer. Or...
Yeah, what are the games I've played or what games? Yeah, I was playing Breath of the Wild. Don't really want to go there. Was playing Skyrim. Don't want to go there.
Cataclysm Dark Stay Ahead.
I wasn't playing that, but yeah, don't want to go there.
What about Rogue or any of those?
Nope, those are all pretty bad.
Hangman?
No, none of the roguelikes. I think all roguelikes are based around you dying, so I'm pretty sure that's bad right off the bat right there. Well, we'll keep thinking about games, I guess, and we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.